Hello, we are live from the Winter Fancy Food Show in San Francisco. I have here today with me Kevin Kelley. He is a retail expert and founding partner and principal of Kelley. He's here today to give us a little bit of insights on the retail experience and shopping behaviors, and we look forward to learning quite a bit about it. Your background is in architecture. And you describe yourself, however, as AntiArchitect. What do you mean by that?
That was a label that got assigned to me 15 years ago at Columbia University. As an architect, architects are involved in a kind of a heavy modernism world. And I do a lot of retail and food with branding and even psychology and sociology. And a lot of the architecture profession thought that was antithetical to what design is about. And actually, I believed it was very connected to it. For whatever reason, a lot of the design profession doesn't want to be in touch with everyday society. They kind of want to be a little higher than everyday society. And I was very interested in everyday places, and particularly everyday retail. So whereas a lot of architects dream of doing civic centers, courthouses, synagogues, I dreamed of doing a convenience store or a dry cleaner or a grocery store, and I got to do my dream. And I kind of liked the label anti-architect, and so we started using it as it relates specifically to, I guess, a lot of what we're doing here at this type of show is that I'm trying to get retailers to generally think design is not something separate from business or branding or marketing, but very connected to it, and not in an aesthetic way. That's what I oftentimes think the problem with architecture is we tend to develop a retail strategy, we develop a marketing plan, and then somebody goes and hires an architect, and they kind of don't connect them. And in retail, your strategy is your building, is your experience, and the only relationship consumers have is with your building. That's the only way they come to know your building. They're generally not able to meet the executive or the board or the marketing director. They know your brand and your company based on the building and the experience. And so I've been trying to shift the dialogue from architecture and design and buildings and facilities to vehicles. I've been really looking at trying to push clients to think of their building as their vehicle for the future.
Just to give an idea of retail design and how it influences shopping behavior, can you give some examples of design elements in retail or food retail that may influence shopping behavior?
You know, there's so many to talk about, but if I was to talk in generally in principles and what's happening is I really like retailers to think of their store as a movie, a story that they're trying to tell, and to try to break the store first and foremost into a series of scenes. And the first most important scene is the opening scene. And a common mistake I see retailers make, it's over and over, is they like to walk people into the store and see a little bit of floral, half of produce, and half a general store. They kind of think that makes sense because they want the consumer to have all these options, but actually it's much better to hit the consumer with one big idea first, a central theme, a kind of symbol or icon of what you're about, and then to walk through a series of scenes, again, that have a beginning, a middle, an end, a little climax. And what I mean by that is in produce, something big that happens, and then an end to that scene, and a threshold experience to start the next scene, and to try to go through the whole store as a story and breaking it down into a series of chapters.
What are some common mistakes that food retailers make?
I think looking at floor plans too much is a big one. We see a lot of retailers look just straight down at the plan and lay out the store. And the word I kind of hate is, why I don't like the word fixture plan. I don't like the word facility because it's not a facility. I don't like the word planogram. And I think a planogram is really based on logistics and warehousing and distribution, and it's not really based on how consumers, it should be, what we need is a seduction gram, and how are we going to seduce consumers into buying our product and to really fulfill dreams as they're walking through the store. Your trade show does it great. As I walk through there, I'm seeing all kind of great scenes, and so I see that mistake over and over where they look at that plan. I mentioned earlier, another mistake I see is the disconnect between the retail strategy the marketing strategy, the brand strategy, and the store strategy. And I think the store strategy is the ultimate manifestation of the brand strategy and the marketing strategy, really the values and beliefs of the company. And so I'm really always trying to get retailers to say, well, does this store say what you believe? In every step and every inch and every foot of the store, are we actually manifesting that strategy?
Your Retail Bliss education seminar, you touched on the checkout counter as a big opportunity for retailers. Can you explain a little bit about that?
We do a lot to make the customer happy throughout the store, but at the very end of the experience, we make them go through a loading dock, essentially. And it's a lot of work, and we make them have to cooperate with people they don't know, socially cooperate, carrying around a big cart and going down a chute. We take all our products out, put them all on the counter, we put all the products back in, and then we have to go back out into the world and unload all that stuff. It just seems like a lot of work. And if you talk to some retailers, they're like, well, that's just the way it is, and I don't know what's going to change it. And I'll tell you what will change it is people that innovate around that area, the store. As soon as there's a better experience, it'll do better. We think it should really be a seasonal solution zone, an inspiration zone for ideas. And we think you could help bide the time of the consumer while they're waiting by giving them good ideas. And so we're really trying to revolutionize the front end. We're making some big radical moves. Sometimes we're just tweaking it where it is, the chassis, but at other times we're just taking it completely out of that area and putting it at the side of the store and trying some different things.
Which food retailers have achieved your idea of retail bliss?
There's a couple. There's a couple that I think are, Whole Foods kind of set the standard. I mean, for food, they really created an incredible experience. I think if you really look at what happened in the sea change, they were kind of laughed at first, and now really people take them seriously. They created an experience where people forgot their time. The joke that people said about whole paycheck, that had to do with people just buying more. I work for Whole Foods, and people just bought more. And that's because it's really an indulgent experience, and it's people are really excited about it. But I also look at a lot of other good retailers. I think Crate and Barrel is a phenomenal retailer. They do something in their stores to really give people the sense that they know how to entertain. And so I like how clear they are. Trader Joe's, of course, is a master at creating a kind of all-shucks environment. If you think about the difficulty of trying to sell a store where you don't sell Tide or Crest or any products anybody knows, traditionally that flew in the face of retail. But they created a whole experience where people, it's an acquired taste. And I mean, that's been 30 years in the making, but they do an excellent job. When we're laying out stores too utilitarian and too logistic, like we put baking soda here and drinks here and cheese here. But in traditional retail, we generally don't think that way. We think cross-merchandising. And so if you go to a Pottery Barn, we're constantly suggesting different ideas for you. When you walk in the store, you'll see a whole theme built around spring or Mother's Day or Thanksgiving or graduation. And it's been a hard thing to get grocery and food retailers to think that way, that consumers don't really think about it as much as a series of aisles, as much as do you have ideas that will solve problems. And the mind shift I'd love to see retailers get into is not providing inventory, but really understanding what are the problems consumers are dealing with, particularly as it relates to around food and life, and how can my store solve those problems. And again, I describe a problem being I need to lose weight. I want to raise my kids healthy on healthy food. I want to figure out how to make life more special with food, or I want to get far on a budget with food. And so there's a lot of problems that consumers are bringing to the store, but I think we push too much on the consumer to figure it out. And I think we ought to help consumers figure it out. And as life gets more time pressed, consumers are looking for editors to help solve their problems. And we have a tremendous opportunity to do that.